Then practice on me first. My neighbor said it like a challenge, standing in my doorway, rain dripping from the ends of her perfect dark hair. My name is Lucas Hale, but everyone calls me Luke. I am 29, a structural engineer in Seattle. I spend most nights alone with blueprints and code reports, making sure other people's buildings never fall down. My life is quiet, steady, and predictable. At least it was before Elena Vance showed up on my porch that night. Elena is 38, a vice president at a huge logistics company downtown. She is my neighbor, the one with the silver German car and the roses that always bloom on time. She leaves for work at 6:30 every morning in heels and comes back late with her blazer still sharp. To the whole street, she is the woman who never cracks, never slows down, never lets anyone close. To me, she was the neighbor I nodded at across the driveway and secretly watched a little too long. That night, the storm hammered against my roof like a drum line. I was at my dining table, pencil in hand, checking numbers for a bridge retrofit in Oregon. I heard the pounding on my front door and thought it was the wind at first. Then it came again, hard and controlled. Someone who expected to be answered. When I opened the door, Elena stood there, soaked to the skin. Her white blouse was plastered to her body under a dark coat. Her usually smooth bob stuck to her cheeks. Her mascara had smudged just a little under her eyes. For the first time since I had known her, she did not look composed. She looked furious and scared at the same time. "I need you," she said. "No hello, no small talk." Just those 3 words. "It is flooding out here," I said, stepping aside. "Come inside, Elena." She walked past me, bringing the smell of rain and expensive perfume into my warm hallway. Water hit the hardwood I had sanded myself last summer, but I did not care. I closed the door and turned toward her. "I do not need a towel, Luke. I do not need tea," she said, spinning around to face me. Her chest rose and fell fast. "I need a date for Saturday, and I need him to be perfect." For a second, I thought she was joking. I glanced at the water dripping from her chin and the fist clenched around a plastic folder in her hand. "You want me to set you up with someone?" I asked. "No." Her eyes, a sharp hazel, locked on mine. "I need you." My brain stalled. I was the quiet neighbor who fixed his own fence. She wore designer suits and sat in boardrooms. We did not exist in the same world, at least not on paper. "Elena," I said slowly. "What is going on?" She took a breath, like she had to force herself to say the words. "Marcus Thorne filed a formal complaint with the board today. He says my personal life is chaotic, that I am a risk for the COO position. He is presenting his case at the gala on Saturday. He is trying to push me out before they vote." She lifted the folder. Inside was a copy of the complaint, highlighted in angry yellow. "I need to prove I am stable," she said. "They like family men. They like settled. They like safe. They do not like a single woman in her late 30s who works too much and lives alone." "So you want a fake date," I said. "I want evidence," she corrected. "I want to walk into that room with a man who looks like he has his life together. A homeowner, a real job, someone who will not talk over me or embarrass me. You are the only man I know who checks all those boxes." "You want me to pretend to be your boyfriend?" I said, trying to keep my voice flat. "I want you to help me survive the night," she said. Her voice dropped. "Help me with this date." I looked at her, really looked. The last 2 years flashed through my mind. Her car leaving in the dark. Her porch light turning on at the exact same minute every evening. The tight line of her mouth when she checked her mailbox. The way she never asked anyone for help. Seeing her here, in my kitchen, asking me for anything at all felt unreal. "Okay," I said. She blinked. "Okay?" "I will do it," I said. "I will be your date." For a second, relief softened the hard line of her shoulders. Then I stepped closer, not too close, but close enough that I could see the raindrops caught in her lashes. "But if we are doing this," I said quietly, "we are not just walking into that room blind." "What do you mean?" she asked. "You are vibrating with stress," I said. "If you go into that gala like this, Thorne will smell blood. If you want me to help you with this date, then we practice on me first." That was when she said it. "Then practice on me first." She did not say it like a joke. She said it like she was putting herself on the table as part of a deal. The words hung in the air between us. I walked to the linen closet and pulled out a thick navy towel. I handed it to her. "Dry off," I said. "If you get sick and miss the gala, he wins by default." She pressed the towel to her face for a moment, breathing in. When she dropped it, some of the wild look had left her eyes. The executive mask slid back into place, but it did not fit as tight as before. "Thorne has been pushing for COO for 6 months, she said, rubbing her hair dry. "He golfs with the chairman. He has a stay-at-home wife and 3 kids who wear matching sweaters in their Christmas cards. He calls me unfocused because I am single." "He sounds boring," I said, moving to the stove. I flicked on the burner and set the kettle on. The simple act always calmed me. Water, heat, the promise of tea, and a little old-fashioned. "He is effective," she said. "The board listens to him." I leaned against the counter and crossed my arms. Her eyes flicked to the way my shirt stretched across my shoulders and then snapped away. It was small, but I saw it. "So I am the prop," I said, "the proof that you are not a risk." "You are my neighbor," she said. "You have a mortgage. You fix your own porch. You do not drink too much or throw parties. You are steady." Her voice softened at the last word. "I can pay you for your time if you want." I shook my head. "I am not a rent-a-boyfriend, Elena. I am just the guy next door." She opened her mouth, but I cut her off with a small smile. "Neighbors help each other," I said. "You do not pay me. You help me straighten the fence that is leaning into your hydrangeas, and we call it even." She let out a short laugh, rough from stress but real. "My fence." "Right." "Deal," I said. I poured the hot water over the tea bags and slid a mug toward her. Her fingers brushed mine for a second. Her skin was cool from the rain. Mine felt too warm. "So how do we practice?" she asked. "Tomorrow," I said. "Dinner, my place, 7 o'clock. You wear what you plan to wear to the gala. We treat it like the real thing." "In your kitchen," she said, looking around. "Exposed brick, clean counters, neat stacks of blueprints on the table. Not a restaurant?" "In a restaurant you can hide behind noise and other people," I said. "Here I can see how you really move, how you talk when you are not performing. If we can make it feel natural here, we can make it work anywhere." She stared at me for a long second, like she was trying to decide if this was a mistake. "7, she said finally. "Do not be late." The next day, I left the office early for the first time in months. I roasted chicken and vegetables. I lit one candle because more felt like a date, and I told myself this was not one. I checked the thermostat twice. I ran my hand over my hair and changed my shirt at the last minute. At exactly 7, the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, Elena stood on my porch in a deep green dress that fit her like it had been made for her alone. Her hair was swept up, her neck bare, diamonds catching the light at her ears. She held the doorframe with one hand like she needed something solid. "Too much?" she asked. For a moment I forgot every number I had ever memorized. "For the gala," I said, stepping back to let her in, "it is perfect." She walked past me again, heels clicking on the floor. This time, there was no rain to blame for the way my heart pounded. This was supposed to be practice, safe, controlled, planned. It did not feel safe at all. Tell me if I look like a woman who has everything under control. That was the first thing she said when I closed the door. She stood in the middle of my living room in that emerald dress, shoulders tight, eyes sharp and restless. To anyone else, she probably looked powerful and calm. I had seen her on my porch in the storm, though. I knew better. "You look like you own every person in this room," I said. "Lucky for me, there is only one of me." "My name is Elena Vance," she said, like she was practicing. "Vice President of Operations. Candidate for Chief Operating Officer. Disaster in heels." "You do not get to call yourself a disaster," I said. "That is my job. I am the one who still has a crooked porch step." Her mouth twitched. It was not quite a smile, but it was close. I led her toward the kitchen. The small house felt different with her inside it, like the walls were closer, the lights softer. The roasted chicken was resting on the counter. The candle flickered between us. "My name is Lucas Hale. I said, repeating it like a line in a script. I am your neighbor. I am 29. I fix broken buildings for a living. Tonight, I am your safe, boring date. Quote, "You are not boring," she said, almost under her breath. I pulled out a chair for her. She sat, but her back stayed straight, hands flat on the table like she was about to start a meeting. "Okay," she said. "Teach me." "First rule," I said. "This is not a meeting." I sat across from her and poured the wine. Her fingers tapped once against the stem of her glass, a nervous habit. I watched every small move. She watched me back. "So," I said, "we need a story. The board will ask how we met." "At a charity event," she said right away. "Clean." "Simple." "Cold," I said. "Let's try again. We met at the hardware store." She lifted a brow. "The hardware store. You were buying a specialty wrench because you refused to wait 3 weeks for a contractor," I said. "I was buying lumber. You asked me if the wrench you picked would actually work." Her lips curved. "I like that version." "Good," I said. "Because it is true." She gave me a look. "No, it is not." "It is true in the way that matters," I said. "It tells them who you are. You see a problem? You fix it yourself. You do not sit and wait. You and I are not a charity case. We fit." The word hung in the air. Fit. She looked away first, down at her plate. I served her chicken and vegetables. She cut a bite, but her hand shook slightly. "You have been in front of investors," I said. "You have walked into rooms where millions of dollars depend on you. Why does this scare you so much?" Quote, "Because this is not a number on a screen," she said. "This is my life, my future, my seat at the table. If I lose this, I do not get another shot." Her voice was low and flat. There was no drama in it. That was what made it hit hard. "Eat," I said softly. "Your blood sugar is probably on the floor." She almost rolled her eyes, but she took a bite. After a few minutes, the tightness in her shoulders dropped a little. The kitchen felt warmer. "Now," I said, "give me your hand." She blinked. "What?" "If we walk into that gala and we look like two strangers standing 3 feet apart, Thorne will not even need a speech," I said. "You want help with this date. That means you have to actually date me for the next hour." She stared at me across the candlelight. Then, slowly, she slid her hand across the table. Her hand was smaller than I thought, cool and soft but with a firm grip. I turned it palm up and rested my thumb lightly over her pulse. It hammered under my skin. "You are holding my hand like you are signing a contract," I said. "You do not have to prove anything here." "I do not know how to be soft on purpose," she said. "At work, if I am soft, they call me weak. If I am firm, they call me cold." "Here you get to be honest," I said. "Not soft or hard. Just real." I stood and moved around the table to her side. "Come on," I said. "Stand up." "This is ridiculous," she muttered, but she obeyed. I took her hand again and placed her other hand lightly on my arm. We were close now. I could see the tiny scar near her left eyebrow, a thin white line under her makeup. I wondered how she got it. "If this was the gala," I said, "we would walk into the room like this. You would be thinking of the agenda, the board, the complaint. You would forget that you have a partner next to you." "Partner," she repeated quietly. "Look at me," I said. Her eyes met mine, not at the room, not at the problem. "At me," I said. "The whole point of this plan is that you are not alone up there. You can lean." Her throat moved as she swallowed. Her fingers tightened on my arm. For a second, the cool boss mask slipped, and I saw the tired woman underneath. Lightning flashed outside. A second later, thunder crashed so loud the floor seemed to jump. The lights flickered once, twice, then cut out. The house dropped into deep black. Elena sucked in a breath. "No, not now." "It is okay," I said. "Power goes out in storms like this all the time." "I cannot see anything," she said. Her voice was steady, but I heard the strain. "I hate the dark." My eyes were already adjusting. I knew this house. I could move through it half asleep. I let go of her hand and stepped back. "Stay right here," I said. "Do not move. I have a flashlight in the drawer by the fridge." "Luke," she said, sharper now, "do not leave me standing in the dark." Quote, There was a tremor on the last word that undid me. "I am not leaving you," I said. "I am walking 4 steps to a drawer." I counted the steps out loud as I moved. 1, 2, 3, 4. The drawer slid open with a familiar sound. I felt for the heavy flashlight, clicked it on, and a strong beam cut through the shadows. Elena was gripping the edge of the island, knuckles white, eyes wide. When the light hit her, she let out a slow breath. "See," I said, "still here." Before I could say more, a sharp crack split the air from outside. Like a tree snapping, the house shook. "What was that?" she asked. I moved to the back door and shone the light into her yard. The rain was intense, sheets of water beating down. One of the big branches from her old cherry tree was hanging at a bad angle over her detached garage. Her silver car sat right under it. "If that branch falls the rest of the way, it will crush your roof," I said. "And your car." "That car was my father's," she said. Her voice went thin. "It is the only piece of him I have left." Quote, she moved toward the door, but I put my arm out. "No," I said. "You are not going out there in heels and a dress under a hanging tree limb. It is not safe." "I am not losing that car," she said. "I cannot." "Then give me the keys," I said. She stared at me. The flashlight beam made her eyes look almost gold. "Luke," she said, "if that branch falls while you are in there—" "I move heavy things for a living," I said. "I know how wood breaks. I will listen. I will be quick. You stay under cover. If anyone is going to take that risk, it is me." Silence stretched between us, just the sound of rain and distant thunder. Then she reached into her clutch and slapped the key fob into my palm. "If you die," she said, breathless, "I will kill you." I grinned, trying to cut the fear in her eyes. "Good," I said. "That means you will be waiting." I stepped off the porch into the storm. The rain hit like cold needles. I ran across the yard, keeping one eye on the branch and one on the ground. The wood above my head groaned, a long, slow sound that made my chest tighten. I unlocked the garage, slid into the driver's seat, and started the engine. The car purred to life like it was used to being treated well. "Okay, old man," I muttered to the car. "Let's move." I backed out fast, steering in a tight line. The second the car cleared the garage, another crack split the air. The branch gave way and crashed through the roof, sending wood and shingles flying. The car was safe. I was out of the path. By the time I ran back to the porch, I was soaked and breathing hard. Elena stood just inside the door, bare feet on the rug now, heels kicked aside. Her hands were shaking. "You are an idiot," she whispered, grabbing the front of my shirt. "You are a complete idiot." "Maybe," I said, "but your car is fine." She did not let go. Instead, she stepped in and pressed her face against my wet shoulder. For a second, I did not know where to put my hands. Then instinct took over. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her tight against me as the storm roared outside. "This does not feel like practice," she said into my chest. I rested my chin lightly on her hair. "It is not," I said, "not anymore. Elena slept in my house that night. If you told me a week before that my neighbor, the perfect VP with a German car and sharp heels, would be in my guest room wearing one of my gray t-shirts, I would have laughed. Yet there she was, walking down my hallway in bare feet, while the storm shook the windows and the power lines stayed dark. The electrical crew could not get to our street until the damage was cleared. Her house had no power, no heat, and a broken garage roof. My small place was the only warm island on the block. "My name is Lucas Hale," I reminded myself the next morning as I stood at the stove. "I am 29. I am a structural engineer. I am not used to having someone else in my space." I ground the coffee beans and waited for the kettle to whistle. The wood stove hummed in the corner of the living room. The air smelled like smoke and fresh coffee. At exactly 7, footsteps came down the hall. Elena walked into the kitchen in my t-shirt and a pair of leggings she had pulled from an overnight bag. Her dark hair was up in a messy knot. She looked softer and younger without the blazer and heels. "If you tell anyone I look like this, I will deny it," she said, but there was a small smile on her lips. "You look like a human person," I said. The board might faint if they saw. She rolled her eyes and reached for the mug I held out. "French press," I said. 4 minutes. "I take this very seriously." She took a sip, closed her eyes, and let out a low sound. "You are ruining me for office coffee," she said. "This is unfair." "Good," I said. "If you get COO, you can demand better beans." The word hung there between us. COO, Chief Operating Officer, the job she had built her whole life around. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She checked it, and the lines came back to her face. "Thorne is pushing for the vote to move up to Friday," she said. "He wants to stand in front of the board with that complaint while my house is still a construction site." "He is a parasite," I said. I glanced at the couch. Papers were spread across the cushions, some sliding toward the floor. Without thinking, I walked over, picked them up, and sorted them into neat stacks by date. "You organize things without noticing," she said, watching me. "Disorder is stress," I said. "I remove stress. It is what I do." Her eyes stayed on me, even when I moved back to the kitchen. I felt the weight of it between my shoulder blades. We fell into a rhythm that felt too easy. I went into the city to the firm for a few hours. My team could handle the Oregon Bridge specs without me now. When I came home, I found Elena on my couch with her laptop, running operations for a giant company from my small living room. In the evenings, we cooked together. She stood at my counter, chopping vegetables like she was signing contracts, sharp and precise. I watched her shoulders ease as the hours passed. On the second night, we sat on the floor in front of the wood stove with glasses of wine. The power company had said maybe tomorrow. The storm had finally moved on, leaving the world outside cold and clear. "Why are you single, Luke?" she asked. It was not a boardroom question. It was quiet and real. "I was engaged," I said, watching the fire. 2 years ago." "What happened?" she asked. She liked the idea of my life, I said. The title, the plans. The future house with the big kitchen. She did not like the parts where I came home exhausted and did not want to go out. She wanted a lifestyle more than she wanted me. Elena took a slow sip of wine. "She wanted a prop," she said softly. "Yes," I said. She wanted a prop. I looked at her. The firelight softened her features. Without makeup and storm hair, she looked less like an untouchable executive and more like a woman who had been tired for a long time. "What about you?" I asked. "Why is Elena Vance, vice president, neighbor with the perfect roses, still single at 38? Men my age want a cheerleader," she said. "Someone to tell them they are great and listen to their stories. Or they want a mother, someone to pick up their mess. I am neither. I am a boss." "It intimidates them." "It does not intimidate me," I said. The air changed. It felt thick and warm. I saw a strand of hair fall into her face. Before I could think, I reached out and tucked it behind her ear. My fingers brushed her cheek. Her eyes closed for half a second. She leaned into my touch just a little. Not much. Just enough to make my heart thud. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to see what she looked like when she was not guarding her expressions. But she was my neighbor. She was under pressure. She needed safety, not a man who could not keep his distance. I pulled my hand back and curled it into a fist. "We should get some sleep," I said. My voice came out lower than I meant. "The gala is tomorrow." For a second, I thought I saw disappointment flicker across her face. Then the mask slid back into place. "Right," she said. "Big night." The next evening, the city looked like a different world. The hotel ballroom downtown glowed with crystal and gold. The air buzzed with rich donors, board members, and senior executives. My name is still Lucas Hale, I thought as I adjusted my tie. I am still the guy who rebuilt his own porch. Tonight I am walking into a battlefield as the fake boyfriend of the woman who lives next door. Elena stepped out of the car in front of the hotel in a silver gown that hugged every line of her body. Diamonds shone at her throat and ears. Her hair was smooth and perfect again. The only thing that gave her away was the way her hand shook when she reached for my arm. "Breathe," I whispered as we walked toward the doors. "You are Elena Vance. You run circles around these people for fun." She squeezed my arm hard enough to leave marks. Inside, music floated through the air. Servers moved between tables with trays of champagne. The board stood near the head table. Tight group, watchful eyes. "There he is," she said under her breath. I followed her gaze. Marcus Thorne, 60, with silver hair and a deep tan that did not match our weather, stood talking to the chairman. He wore a smile that looked like it had been practiced in the mirror. He saw us and came over. "Elena," he said, voice smooth. "You made it. I heard about the storm. A tree through the roof, was it not?" Quote, "Structural failure in an old limb," I said before she could answer. I extended my hand. "Lucas Hale, structural engineer. I handled the removal. Her property is secure." Thorne's eyes flicked to me. He shook my hand, his grip soft and damp. "An engineer," he said. "Very useful. Elena, you always did have creative solutions." "Lucas has been a great help," she said. Her voice was sharp now, cool. "I trust him." Thorne's gaze dropped to where Elena's hand rested on my forearm. "A younger man," he said quietly, but not quiet enough. "Interesting choice while the board is reviewing your judgment. Optics matter, Elena." "Maturity is not about age, Marcus," I said, my voice still even. "It is about competence. From what I have seen, Elena has more of that than anyone in this room." His smile cracked for a second. Then he turned away. We moved through the crowd, greeting people, shaking hands. After a while, the music changed to something slower. Elena looked up at me. "If I dance, I will step on your feet," she said. "I build things to hold weight," I said. "I will survive." Quote, I led her to the dance floor. She placed one hand on my shoulder and one in my hand. The lights shifted, softer now. For the first time all night, she seemed to forget there were other people in the room. "This feels almost normal," she said quietly. "Almost," I said. For a few minutes, it was easy to pretend the only people in the ballroom were us. Her head almost rested against my chest. My hand fit at the small of her back like it belonged there. Then the buzz started. A phone vibrated. Then another. People began to look down at their screens. Then up at us. A ripple moved across the room like a wave. Sarah, Elena's assistant, hurried toward us, cheeks pale. "Elena," she said, "you need to see this." She held up her phone. On the screen was a photo taken from outside my house. It showed my living room window lit by the wood stove. Inside, Elena sat on my couch in my gray t-shirt, hair messy, laughing with a glass of wine. The caption on the corporate gossip site said, "VP Vance playing house with a boy next door, while stock dips in storm response stalls. Sources say she is shacking up with a neighborhood laborer instead of focusing on the company." I felt Elena go still in my arms. The music kept playing. The people around us kept staring. "My God," she whispered. "What did I do? My God, what did I do?" Elena's voice was so small I almost did not hear it over the music. I looked at the screen again. My living room, my couch, my t-shirt on her body. A moment that had felt safe and quiet turned into a weapon. "You did nothing wrong," I said. "You stayed at my house because your power was out and your roof was broken. You kept working. That is the truth." "It does not matter what is true," she said. Her face was white. "It matters what it looks like." I walked into a board vote with a complaint on my file and a gossip post about me sleeping with a younger neighbor. I might as well have handed Thorne the job. People were still staring. Some tried to hide it. Most did not. "We need to leave," I said. "If I walk out, I look guilty," she whispered. "If you stay, you break," I said. "Right now, you are shaking. They do not get to see that." I took her hand and guided her off the dance floor. Sarah fell into step with us, her phone still in her hand, eyes burning. "I will try to control the internal channel," Sarah said. "Legal is already asking questions." "Thank you," Elena said, but her voice sounded far away. The drive back to our street was silent. Rain started again, light this time, the kind that made the city shine under the streetlights. Inside my house, Elena finally exploded. "I cannot believe I was so stupid," she said, pacing across my living room in the silver gown. "I stayed here. I let my guard down. I let them see me in your t-shirt." I gave him the ammo. "You stayed here because your house was unsafe," I said, leaning against the kitchen island. "There is nothing wrong with that." "It does not matter," she said. They see a woman laughing with a younger man while they think the company is in crisis. They see a joke. They see chaos. She grabbed the diamond necklace at her throat and ripped it off. It landed on the coffee table with a sharp sound. "Look at you," she said, turning on me. "You were in that picture too. They called you a laborer. They are mocking you as well. You have a firm, a career. You worked for that." "I do not care what they call me," I said. "They do not know me." "I care," she said. Her chest was heaving. "I pulled you into this. Now your name is tied to mine in the worst possible way. Desperate older woman, midlife crisis, boy next door. Is that how you want your clients to see you? Is that how you see yourself?" I asked. She looked at me like I had slapped her. "It is a mistake," she said. Her voice cracked. "We were playing house, Luke. For 2 days we pretended this was normal. We pretended this was real. It was not. It was a fantasy. And now reality is here to collect." She walked to the door and put her hand on the knob. "I am going back to my house," she said. "It still has no power," I said. "I do not care," she said. "I need to be alone. I need to fix this." She looked back at me, eyes shining with tears she refused to let fall. "Thank you for your help," she said, "but you are fired." Quote, "Fired," I repeated, "from the fake date?" "From all of it," she said. "Stay away from me, Luke, for your own sake." She opened the door and left. I did not chase her, not because I did not want to, but because she had drawn a line in panic and pain. I was not going to bulldoze it. The next morning at 6:12, I sat at my table with a cup of coffee and my laptop open. The rain had finally stopped. The world outside was gray and quiet. I watched the clip from my doorbell camera again and again. 15 seconds from the night the photo had been taken. Elena on my couch. My gray t-shirt. Her laugh. In the far edge of the glass, a faint reflection that did not belong to either of us. A shadow near the hedge. I checked the other camera feeds I had installed after someone stole copper from a neighbor's yard last year. The backyard. The side gate. The driveway. On the same night, a sedan had idled across the street for 8 minutes. A man got out with a camera case and crossed the property line right at the small marker by the hydrangeas. Trespass. I froze the frame where his face was half visible under the streetlight. I zoomed on the license plate until I could read every number. Then I called someone who knew more than I did. "Ramon," I said when he picked up. "It is Hale. I need a favor." Ramon Ortega ran night security at the glass office tower across from our block. I had done a seismic consult for that building last year. He was the one who got my crew access at 2 in the morning. "There was a photographer outside my house Saturday night," I said. "I have him on my camera. I think he used your alley entrance to park. I need a clip of the garage and alley feed between 9:30 and 10. "That is a big ask," he said. "I am not asking you to break the law," I said. "I am asking for enough to prove someone is targeting my neighbor and trespassing on my property. I will sign a statement. I will bring it to legal if needed." He was quiet for a few seconds. "Send me the plate and the timestamp," he said. "Give me 30 minutes. By 8:15, my printer was spitting out pages. The tower camera showed the same sedan pulling into the alley, the same man getting out, camera bag on his shoulder. Behind him, an assistant type in a suit handed him an envelope. The assistant wore a company badge with a clear logo and a name strip. I sent a picture of the badge to Sarah. She replied in seconds. "That is Thorne's aide," she wrote. "I am calling legal. Check your email." She sent me the internal ethics policy from the company portal and a note from legal saying, "For review, use only as needed. Do not share publicly without counsel." I printed everything. My camera stills, the tower stills, the policy. A short signed note from Ramon confirming the footage was real and time-stamped. By 9, I had a folder under my arm and my best suit on. My name was still Lucas Hale. I was still a structural engineer. Today, I was also the only person who seemed willing to stand between Elena and a man who did not mind breaking rules to win. Sarah texted me again from the office downtown. "Vote moved up," she wrote. Thorne is presenting the photo as a conduct issue at 9, boardroom level 30. I can get you past security as an outside consultant. I drove into the city, parked, and walked into the glass tower where Elena's company ran the world. Security started to tell me to wait until an alert popped on their tablet. "Mr. Hale," the guard said, "you are cleared. Boardroom floor. Elevator on the right." Upstairs, Sarah met me at the door with her tablet. "Wait here," she said. "Trust me." She stepped inside and spoke in a clear voice. "Mr. Chairman, under ethics and compliance, we have a material witness with documentation on the source of the photograph and a possible procurement conflict." Thorne's voice floated through the wall. "This is not the time, Sarah." "It is exactly the time," the chairman said. "Bring him in." I walked into the boardroom with the folder in my hand. A large photo of my living room glowed on the screen behind Thorne. Elena sat at the long table, back straight, eyes blank. "Name," the chairman said. "Lucas Hale," I said. "Property owner, neighbor." Thorne sneered. "This is not a criminal trial. We have an image that speaks for itself. Lack of discretion, poor judgment, public scandal." "The image was taken from inside my fence line," I said. "That means trespass. And the person who ordered it paid for that trespass with company money." I opened the folder and set the first page down. My doorbell still. The man on my walkway, timestamp clear. "This is my camera," I said, "installed after a theft on the block. This is the photographer on my property without consent." Thorne snorted. "Anyone can print a still." "Which is why I brought backup," I said. I slid forward, the tower still. Same man, same sedan. An aide in a suit handing him an envelope, badge clear. "This is from the alley camera at the tower across the street," I said. "Security supervisor has signed a statement confirming time and date. Your aide handed this man a package before he walked to my house." The chairman picked up the page. His jaw tightened. I put down the ethics policy, open to a section on harassment and retaliation. Then a last page, an invoice to a small media firm, marked as consulting, signed off by Thorne 3 months ago. "Company funds," I said. "Private photographer, harassment of a senior executive candidate, retaliation before a vote." Elena finally spoke. "I stayed online in our storm channel until the all clear," she said, her voice steady. "My location logs and call records prove that. I stayed at my neighbor's house because my roof was unsafe. I did my job. He tried to destroy my reputation for leverage." The room was silent. "Mr. Thorne," the chairman said at last, "did you approve this invoice?" Thorne's face flushed red. "This is all out of context. We needed media." "That is not what this reads like," the chairman said. "Pause the vote. Contact compliance. Mr. Thorne, sit down. We will be reviewing your conduct." I closed the folder and stepped back. "If you need the raw files," I said, "I will give them to counsel today." I walked out and sat in the lobby on a hard modern couch. My hands finally started to shake. I set them on my knees and made them be still. 45 minutes later, the boardroom doors opened. People walked past me, faces tight, voices low. Elena came out last, carrying a small box of items. For a second, I thought they had fired her. My chest went cold. Then she handed the box to Sarah and walked straight toward me. Her eyes were bright, but not with tears. With something else. Relief, anger, determination. "You trespassed into a board meeting," she said. "Technically, I was invited," I said. "You embarrassed Marcus Thorne in front of the entire board," she said. "He embarrassed himself," I said. "I just pulled back the curtain." She stepped closer. We were standing in the middle of the lobby. People were watching us, but she did not seem to care. "The chairman fired him," she said. "They have opened a full investigation. The vote for COO is delayed until next week, but it is mine if I want it. I should be thinking about that. I should be thinking about my job. But all I can think about is this." She reached for my hand. "Elena," I said, "people are looking." "Let them look," she said. She laced her fingers through mine and turned, letting anyone who wanted a show have one. "This is Lucas," she said. loud enough for the receptionist to hear. "He is my neighbor. He is the reason I still have a career today. He is my partner." She faced me again. Up close, her eyes were wet, but her mouth was steady. "I do not want a fake date," she said. "I do not want practice. I want real. Dinner tonight. And tomorrow. And the night after that. If you want it too." For once in my life, I did not overthink it. "Yes," I said. I cupped her face in my hands and kissed her, right there in the lobby, under the bright lights and the company logo. It was not a soft test. It was an answer. She kissed me back without hesitation. When we finally pulled apart, she rested her forehead against my chest and laughed once, quietly. "Let's go home," she said. "Your place or mine?" I asked. "Yours," she said. "My roof is still leaking." "I can fix that," I said. "I know," she said, squeezing my hand. "You fix everything." Quote. 2 days later, on a quiet Saturday afternoon, I stood in my kitchen in my gray t-shirt, measuring coffee like it mattered. The house was warm, the sky was clear. The storm was a memory. The doorbell rang. When I opened it, Elena stood on my porch in a simple white camisole and a black skirt. Hair over one shoulder. No diamonds. No armor. A single red rose sat between us in her hand. "I am not asking you to be my evidence anymore," she said. "I am asking you to be my choice." I took the rose. Our fingers touched. She did not pull back. She stepped closer instead, eyes locked on mine, and gave a small nod. Clear permission. This time, I did not hold back. I slid my hand to her waist and pulled her in. She rose on her toes and kissed me like she had finally decided she was done negotiating with her own heart. When we broke apart, she leaned her head against my chest and let out a long breath. "Dinner?" she asked. "Tonight," I said, "and tomorrow." She smiled into my shirt. "Good," she said. I set the rose in a glass by the sink, then held the door open wide. She walked into my house like she belonged there. "My name is Lucas Hale. I used to fix empty structures and go home to an empty porch. Now, when I look across the driveway, I do not just see a neighbor. I see my partner, my future, and the woman who once knocked on my door in a storm and changed everything with one line. Then, practice on me first."